Hello, everyone. The BMM Youth Team is ecstatic to bring you the third installment of the My American Journey series, where we interview American Marathi working professionals from a variety of different fields. On today's episode, we have Sanjeevanee Vidwans, Deputy Director of the Department of Housing, Economic Development, and Commerce for the City of Jersey City. My name is Amol Shirodkar. I'm a sophomore engineering student at Rutgers, and Sanjeevanee, thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
You're very welcome.
So to start off, let's talk a little bit about your high school career. So when you were in high school, did you know that what career path you wanted to pursue?
Nope, not at all. I mean, I knew what I liked in school, but I didn't really know what I wanted to be doing after I graduated college.
So on that note, what role, if any, did your parents play in your decision to pursue a particular subject or major in college?
A pretty strong role, actually. So my father was an engineer, and he felt very strongly that an engineering degree was a very strong background for basically anything you wanted to do. I had two older sisters, and both of them were already in college, and they were both already studying. One was completed her engineering degree, and one was getting her engineering degree. So it was kind of, there wasn't too much wiggle room for other choices, but I was okay with it since I liked the subjects that you learned in engineering. So I didn't really resist too much.
So let's talk a little bit about your college career. So what did you major in and why did you select this major?
So I majored in civil engineering. I have a bachelor's of engineering in civil engineering from the Cooper Union, which is a small college in New York City. It's in Manhattan. So I just decided to major in it because I like math, I like science, I like physics. And I just, out of the various degrees that Cooper Union offered, that was the one that interested me the most, civil engineering. And, I was offered a full tuition scholarship. So that was a big part of my decision to go there. And I love New York City. So just kind of all fit.
So when you were at Cooper Union, what clubs or groups did you join and take part in?
So there was professional related clubs. There was also just kind of more social clubs. So I was in the American Society of Civil Engineers. I remember I was president of that my senior year, and I was in the Society of Women Engineers. And then on the social level, there was a South Asian Students Organization. So I was part of that, which held a lot of events, cultural stuff and culture shows and all the things that you think of college Indian associations do. We did all that. And I also was in the student council. So there was a few other random clubs that Cooper Union had that I joined sort of that were more social stuff, but I would say that those were the biggies.
It sounds like you took part in a lot of really cool clubs and organizations in college. So if you had to pick one favorite college memory, what would it be?
So I mean, the culture shows with the South Asian club, those were very fun. I would say those are probably my favorite college memory. So you said one, but one other one is that I used to organize a ski trip. Actually, that was pretty fun. That wasn't a club, but there was a ski trip organized by the school for a week in Canada during winter break every year. And honestly, it was a great time for everyone to just socialize and blow off steam. And it was when I learned to ski. I never skied before that growing up. So I still ski to this day. Just went on a ski weekend with my family actually this weekend.
Nice. So did you complete a graduate degree, and how would a graduate degree apply to your particular field?
So I don't have a graduate degree. I've thought many times over the years, over my career, about getting a graduate degree. But so for various reasons, it never happened. But I think that in my opinion about a graduate degree is that people should pursue one if they have a reason to either gain that interest in whatever that subject is, or if they think it's going to give them skills to if they want to change their career. I just never found myself in a position that I needed a graduate degree to make those pivots. I think that, you know, there was a time in my career that I did investigate and did apply actually to get my MBA, but for various reasons didn't end up going. And I think that if I had done that, I probably would have pivoted to a very different career than I have today, for better or for worse, but it didn't happen. So I find myself where I am, and I don't feel like I need it, but I also haven't dismissed the possibility of ever getting one either. I think it just depends on if I want to ever make another shift in my career.
Now let's talk a little bit about your current career. So tell us about your current occupation and the career path that led you there.
Yeah, so currently I am working for the city of Jersey City, which you can see in my background here, the view from Liberty State Park in Jersey City. So I am the Deputy Director of the Department of Housing, Economic Development and Commerce. We basically, our department houses 8 different divisions, including the building department, zoning, city planning, affordable housing, community development. We do all the tenant landlord relations, so housing code enforcement and economic development, and we issue all the licenses for every business in Jersey City. So basically all the entire built environment in Jersey City, anything you see that's built in Jersey City, one way or another comes through our department.
Could you tell me a little bit about some other positions you've held in the past after you graduated from college?
Yeah, so I graduated from college at almost 25 years ago. So when I graduated with my degree in civil engineering, aside from internships I had in college that were in civil engineering or that applied civil engineering in engineering firms, I never really worked as a civil engineer. When I graduated college, my first job was in construction management. So I worked for one of the big construction management companies that did commercial projects. So we worked on hotels, office buildings, and basically I was an assistant project manager. So I spent my time in the field. So we would manage projects from a field office, a construction site, and working with all the various trades, subcontractors from the same place that they were actually building. So we'd be managing like the budget of the construction and the schedule of the construction. And I did that at a couple of different firms and always in New York City. And then I kind of transitioned in the same world, but into a kind of a different role in construction, into a role called owner's representative. It's basically like kind of one layer above what construction managers do. So owners representatives are basically an offshoot of the owner of a project. So if there's some entity that's looking to build a capital project, they would hire a consultant called an owner's representative to basically manage the whole process for them, because they themselves might not be familiar with how to do that, because they're a school or they're some cultural institution or a college. And if they're building a new building, that's not their expertise. So they would hire a firm like ours to act on their behalf, help them develop the overall budget so that they can go out and do fundraising, help them maybe secure other funds through city money or state money or other grant money, and then really the logistics of building the project. So hiring an architect, maybe that might be a competitive selection process for an architect. And then once the architect's on board, managing the design of the building, which can usually be like a year or more process, and then helping them select a construction manager, which is the role I used to play, to build the project all the way up until they would occupy it. So I did that all together for about 20 years, taking a little break in the middle when I had my kids, and then went back to doing it. And then just around like 2019 or the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, probably right before the pandemic hit, I started exploring an opportunity to work for the city of Jersey City, which is where I work now, and really transitioned right during COVID. Like in July of 2020 is when I started the position, even though I was talking about it prior to that. But I transitioned to this role in the public sector, having been in the private sector for 20 years prior. So that was a big career change for me. It's not only is it a different role and different job function, but it's also moving from the private sector to the public sector is a big change.
So on that note, how was the transition between the private sector to the public sector? And did your degree in civil engineering give you a good background for your current position?
I mean, to be honest, my degree didn't really play any role at all in really any of my career choices after that first one, and maybe not even that first one. Yeah, I mean, it's more about my background and what my experience was in my professional life that led me to this role now. To have the role that I'm in, having a background in construction and real estate and project management is hugely helpful, but it's not, that's just one component of my role, because, we're coordinating with developers that are building in Jersey City. But then another component of the role is managing a department, which is like about 125 people. So the day-to-day of that, the staffing issues, the other coordination, any new policy initiatives that come through our department, coordinating all that is something that having the civil engineering background helps. And it's kind of one path to get you to a role that such as mine, but I wouldn't say it's the only path.
So on a bit of a lighter note, what would you say is your favorite part about working at your job for the city of Jersey City?
Well, I just love Jersey City. So I love the fact that I'm doing something hopefully that is bettering the city, just making it a better place for residents to live and work. That is the personally fulfilling part of my job, and it's really what drew me to the job. And I like the managing people aspect of the job, trying to figure out of our, the employees that we have in our department, sort of, are they happy? What other roles could they take on, or how could they move to a different place or to a different part of the department that might make them happier or better use of their talents, how we can hire people that will better sort of how we do our work.
What kinds of traits and skills will be most relevant to your current occupation as a government deputy director?
I mean, I think number one, when you work in the public sector, when you work in a government job, I mean, you have to really want to help people, because at the end of the day, you work for the residents of the municipality that you work in. So the people of Jersey City are the people that employ me. So I work for them, making sure that, we're serving them. So I think public service and wanting to help your community is a very important trait to have. I think however you're doing that, like at a place like Jersey City, other skill sets you have to bring to the table. Like we house the building department. So people who work in the building department have to have an expertise in either they have to have worked in construction, have certain licenses, or been an elevator mechanic so they can inspect elevators. If you're in city planning, we hire people with planning backgrounds, or in zoning, we also look for people with planning backgrounds. I think like though public service is really the most important thing to work at the city of Jersey City.
So as someone who's worked in this industry for over 25 years, how would you rate the career opportunities in your chosen field?
I think the career opportunities in the public sector, like at Jersey City in particular, are very good. We are always hiring and looking to hire good, smart people who are ready to work and who care about the city, and can contribute to our whole administration in many different ways, whether it's technically or we always need people who have clerical skills. Like we're just, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, and for a smart person, there's always opportunity to grow and to rise.
At your current position, how do you manage your work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the positives about being in the public sector, is that it's a lot more conducive to work-life balance. Typically, most jobs in the public sector, what we call 9 to 5, so it's very predictable hours. It's I would find that that's so with my job. We have ample paid time off so that you can be there if your child's sick, if you need to take care of another loved one because they need you. You have paid time off to compensate for that. You get enough vacation time and enough holiday time to feel like you're basically not like burning the candle at both ends. I think that is something that's very different in the private sector because for better or for worse, it's very driven by the bottom line. So the more you work, the more maybe money you make for yourself, for your company. And it's just a bit of a different attitude about what drives things in the public sector. Not to say people aren't dedicated, but it's just set up to have it's more conducive to a work-life balance. So I would say like that's how my job contributes to that. And I think just, if the life part of your work-life balance involves more than just yourself and you have family, having a partner or other family members that can contribute is a huge part of what makes work-life balance work for me. So I'm lucky to have that.
So I know that you're a current hiring manager for a variety of roles. So what kinds of qualities do you look for when hiring candidates looking to work in your line of work?
I would say, one of the things that I always end up asking and listen very closely to the response when I am interviewing people is just what draws you to Jersey City? Why are you interested in working for the city of Jersey City? Because I do find that, people who are dedicated to public service and to the city are going to find success and find some way to serve the people somewhere within the organization. Maybe it might not be in our department, but they'll find their place if that's what their goal is. I think that I also look for, depending on what the role is, sometimes there's technical requirements that we're looking for, like somebody who knows a great deal about, HUD funding from the federal government. Like one of our divisions focuses on that, or somebody that if they're going to be in a supervisor role, then they have to have leadership skills. They have to be able to do more than just the technical duties of the job. They have to be able to hold people accountable, train people, manage people, inspire people, communicate with people. If they're going to be at a managerial level, there's also, we have the city planning, which has a technical expertise where people who come to city planning, we're looking for people who have usually a master's degree in planning, public policy planning, and that they're interested in meeting with the public and doing public meetings and gaining public opinion about various initiatives that we have, like that are happening in the city. So an interest in all that, and it just depends on what the role is, but an interest in all that is what we look for depending on the position.
So as a woman who's worked in this industry for over 20 years, what difficulties did you face throughout your career, and how did you overcome these difficulties?
Yeah, I think that being a woman in a primarily male-dominated field like construction can be difficult because you're the minority. I think a lot of times people kind of get used to the way that the larger part of the crowd communicates or manages. If that's sort of like a male-oriented way of communicating, then even if you're a woman, you come to the table and you might know the same amount as the person next to you. If you communicate it differently, it doesn't come off that you know the same amount or the same at all. So I think like part of it, the challenge has been learning sort of how to navigate that and to be able to kind of communicate in like a male-dominated field. But I think, a lot of times it just comes down to just being competent, knowing your stuff. And unfortunately, I think for women, a lot of times you have to know your stuff more than maybe the man that's sitting next to you, because sometimes they might be given a pass because of who they are. for better or for worse. I can't say that that's not totally true. I've definitely experienced that. And, in my career, I think that the more that we have women in, say, construction or other fields that are not typically, don't typically have as many women, I think the more that will change. And I think it's kind of something that unfortunately is happening a little slower than I'd like personally, but it is happening. And I think most importantly, we need to find ways to get women really at the upper levels, the highest levels of organizations, not sort of just token women that are, in management, but they're contributing with one opinion in a group of 10 people. I think that real change happens when women are contributing with the top and the last opinion, or half of the opinions instead of just a token, because then it gets out, that voice can get outnumbered. To me, real change will come when you really see women at the top, and more than just one or two women, but a 50-50 split of men and women. And I think it's an advantage to many industries to look at that as a positive.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was very inspiring to me personally, and I'm sure everyone watching from home thinks so too. So to end off, if you'd go back in time in a time machine and give your 16-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it'd probably be that, nothing is permanent. Any decision that you make at 16 is by no means going to be lasting for the rest of your life, whether it's good or bad. I don't even feel that the decisions I make now are permanent. So just nothing's permanent. So try not to sweat it too much.
Thank you.